Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be making this beautiful lapel vest with belt. It's actually a two-piece and this is the part 1. Part 2 will be the making of the trousers, so let's get right into the making of the vest. You first need to get your pattern paper, measure the length of the vest you want. Mine is 27 including the sewing allowance and everything. Like I always say, excess is always better than shortage. So we are marking the back and then the front together. Each of them is going to be on fold. So we have our back on top and we have our front underneath. So we are doing all our markings on the back first. So I mark my neckline, then I mark my armhole, which is 7 inches. I mark my bust point, which is 10, my underbust, which is 13, my waist, my hip, which is 24, and then the length of the vest. Alright, so connect these points in a horizontal line. Remember, we are marking on the back pattern paper, okay? Our front pattern paper is longer than the pattern paper of the back by about 5 inches. So make sure you always label your lines. Okay, so we have our chest line or the armhole line, we have our bust point, under bust, waist, and then the hip line. So for the neck width of the back, I came in by 3 inches, and for the depth, I came in by just 1.5 inches. Connect it like so. And then I mark my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. Mine is 7 inches. I did not add any sewing allowance because it's a sleeveless top. So you come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Connect it like so. You come out by ½ inches and then curve it to form the armhole. On the chest line, you mark your bust measurement divided by 4. On your waist measurement divided by 4. And then on your hip measurement divided by 4. Mark the same for the bottom of the pattern paper. Then connect these points in a dotted line for reference. Please remember we are marking on the back pattern paper first. So all these things you see are on the back pattern paper. I hope you understand. So on the waistline, you mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Mark the same for the under bust, the bust point, the hip line, and then the bottom of the pattern paper. Connect these points together to form a vertical line. Very easy and very simple. So now we have our dot line. You can decide to add your sewing allowance before taking in your dot. Connect it like so. So you notch the dot point or the dot line for both the back pattern and then the front pattern paper. Then you can now go ahead and cut it out. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you to my returning subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. And then my new subscribers, Welcome once again. Alright, so you extend the back neckline to that of the front pattern. And then for the front pattern, I came down by 4 inches. You don't need to come down by 4 inches if you don't want your lapel below, but I wanted an exaggerated low lapel. That is why I came down by 4 inches, but you can come down by just 3 inches. That will be fine. Cut the neckline for both the back pattern and then the front pattern. Alright, and then make sure you indicate the center of the pattern and then extend the points on the front pattern as well. So we are extending the mark points on the back pattern onto the front pattern. I hope you understand. And then label as well. So you can now put aside the back pattern and then work on the front pattern. Very simple and very easy. So continue to extend the line, and then that is that line where we notched on the bottom. So on the bust point, you come down by 1 inch, and then on the waistline, you come out by 1 inch on both sides. Then from the hip line, you come up by 1.5 inches, and then connect these points together. So you connect the point above the hip line to that of the waistline. Then you connect the point below the bust point to that of the waistline. Very simple and very easy. I hope you understand. Okay, so we have our dart in place for the front pattern. Remember, this is going to be on fold, and for the lapel, I have about 5.5 inches. My client wants an exaggerated lapel, so I added 5.5 inches, and then my breaking point will be at the under bust. So from the neckline of the front pattern, we are going to connect it to the breaking point. I hope you understand. And then you can now draw your neckline for the front. I came down by 4 inches, remember. So you cut it out like so. So when you flip it over, you have your lapel. I hope you understand. The breaking point is at the under bust. Then for the overlap, I came out by 4 inches from the under bust, but then the lapel is longer than the overlap by 1 inch or half inches, depending on what you want. And then I connected it to the lapel, just as you see. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. I mean, I reduced the overlap by 1 inch from the under bust to the bottom. Just watch what I'm doing. Okay, and then you curve it into the lapel. Very simple and very easy. So you see an exaggerated lapel. Very beautiful. Alright, so you extend the point to the shoulder line. And then now you bring in your back panel, and then you're going to do the same. On the waistline, you come out by 1 inch on both sides. And then 1.5 inches from the hip line. And then from the chest line, you're going to go up by 1.5 or 2 inches. You're going to connect it to the dart line. Connect these points together to form the back dart. Remember, you go up from the chest line by 2 inches for the back dart, okay? And then for the front dart, you come down from the bust point by 1 inch. Very simple and very easy. We are going to input our center back dart. This helps your suit or your vest to snatch your waist or to fall very nicely in the back at the waist area. So you go in by ½ inches on the waistline and then that of the under bust and curve it back into the original line for the center back dart, okay? So you can decide to slit open the back dart. So you connect that point to the shoulder line. Then you're going to cut it out like so. Do not slit open the back dart because sometimes it gets mixed up with what you've cut out before. So I usually like to keep it this way until I'm cutting on the fabric that I slit it out. So I'm going to cut out the center back as well. Remember, this is going to be on fold. So we have our back pattern ready. And then this is our front pattern. Now we can slit open our front pattern. We are going to cut out the dart for the front pattern, okay? So we cut out the dart. We are going to slash open the shoulder straight, just like so. So you have 2 pieces for the front. We have our lapel, exaggerated lapel, very beautiful. So I wanted to extend the lapel a little bit. I wanted some projection, so I added a little bit of pattern paper. Went up by just ½ inches. You can go up by 1 inch and it's going to be pointed out. It's going to give this projection there, which is very beautiful, but I went out by just ½ inches. Then connected back into the original curve or line for the lapel. Cut it like so. You can actually maintain the 4 inches, but then when you come up, it gives this projection. I don't know how to explain, but it makes it very beautiful. That is why I came up by ½ inches. Okay, so we have our front pattern ready, and then I've gone ahead to cut it out. So we have 2 pieces for the fashion fabric and then 2 pieces for the lining. I use a white lining for the front or the center front, okay? I mean, when you flip it over, the lapel is going to be a white color. That is why I use that white fabric as my lining. So I've gone ahead to cut the same for the back, both the fashion fabric and then the lining. So this is what we are going to. We're going to sew the dart with ½ inches allowance. So I've gone ahead to pin my lining pieces together. I mean, the center front is white and then the side is the cotton lining. So you first pin them together, making sure the seams are aligned, and then you go ahead and sew. So for demonstration purpose, the center front is the white, then the side is the normal cotton. You're going to flip it over like this and you're going to sew the dart in place. I hope you understand. You're going to do the same for the other side and then both the lining and then the fashion fabric. You flip it over, front side facing each other, and you're going to sew with 1/2 inches allowance. So for the back, we have 4 pieces, 2 for the center back and then 2 for the side. So I've gone ahead to sew that in place for the lining and then the fashion fabric. So I've also joined the back pieces together, both for the fashion fabric and then the lining. So just checking out how my lapel will fall on the fashion fabric. So what you're going to do is you're going to align the side of the back and that of the front of the lining, and then do same for the fashion fabric. I mean, you would join the fashion fabric pieces together and then that of the lining separately, and then create an opening in the lining at the back. Then you're going to sew with 1/2 inches allowance on both the fashion fabric and then the lining. Also join the shoulder together. So I've gone ahead to join the shoulder and then the side pieces together, both for the lining and then the fashion fabric. So I joined the shoulder by 1/2 inches and then the side by 1/2 inches. It's now time for us to place our flap. So I measured 20 inches from the shoulder. Then that is where we are going to place our flap. So I measured 5 inches on fold. Then I cut them into 2 like this. Then when you flip it over, you're going to sew with 1/4 inch on both sides. So I've gone ahead to sew with 1/4 inch for both the flaps. Then make sure the seams align. You're going to flip it over and iron it flat. Also measure the width or the length of your flap. Mine is 2.75 inches for both the right and then the left. Then I folded the rest and ironed them flat. After that, cut out the excess, leaving just 1/4 inch or maybe 1/2 inches allowance for joining. So you bring in your fashion fabric, find the middle of the flap, and you're going to align it at the dot line. You're going to top stitch on it. So I've gone ahead to attach my flaps to the fashion fabric, and it's now time for us to sew our collar in place. So you measure where you want your collar to start from the lapel. Then you measure how long your collar will be. So my collar was 27 inches, half of it is 13.5. So I folded this fabric with a width of 4 inches or 4.5 inches, and then at the corner I came up by 1/2 inches allowance, came in by 2 inches, and then curved it from the edge to the neckline. I hope you understand. You understand when we get there. If you've made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So this is our collar. We're going to laminate it with fusible interfacing. We're going to stitch on the side. I also stitch on the upper part of the collar to create this curve in the upper part. I also notched the center of the collar. So we are going to be attaching the collar to the fashion fabric only. So I've gone ahead to attach the collar to the fashion fabric. Then we are going to sandwich the collar in between the fashion fabric and then the lining. So make sure the pieces align or the seams align, and it's now time for you to shape the bottom of your lapel. So I decided to curve the bottom part like so. I came down by 3 inches from the waistline and then I curved it back into the lapel. Then you cut it out. Then trim off the excesses, make sure the seams align. Then you're going to sew only the top and then the bottom, front side facing each other. So when you sew the bottom and then the top, this is what we have. You can now check if your lapel matches, everything is okay. You iron it flat, then you flip it back again. You're going to sew with 1/2 inches the lapel for both sides. You're going to also sew with 1/2 inches for the armhole. You're going to turn them all out through the opening we left in the lining. I hope you understand. Okay. So I've gone ahead to join the armhole, the lining, and then the fashion fabric together. Then sew the lapel part, and this is what we have. Very neat finishing, very beautiful professional finishing. So make sure you iron flat your vest. I also went ahead to make this belt that we are going to use to style this vest, and this is the final look of the vest. Very beautiful, very easy. Remember, this is the part 1, and then the part 2 will be the sewing of the trouser. Thank you for watching.